John and John surf trip. Day one started with an early flight, and we got to the airport about 7 a.m., which was about 2 hours early. Like a dunce, I went to Terminal 10 and had to walk to Terminal 31, but it was a beautiful morning and I wasn't in a hurry, so it was a nice short walk. After getting inside, I quickly met up with John and we got in the long line through security, but it went rather quickly and we were at our gate in no time. Once aboard our flight, we got comfortable and realized the plane had no Wi Fi whatsoever, and so we watched Wally on my phone for a while, and I took a few pictures of some mountains in the desert and what looked like some sort of crop circles in the middle of the desert. I'm not sure how that works, but whatever. We soon landed and dropped our bags off at the Airbnb and headed to the beach for our 12 o'clock surf lesson. They provided us with wetsuits and trained us on some safety techniques on the beach. Then we hit the waves, and after some much needed coaching, we managed to catch a wave or two. Then this nice mom that was taking pictures of her husband and daughter got these live photos of me riding a wave all the way to shore. After that, John and I posed for a picture with our surfboards. I never got this woman's name, but I am so thankful that she was there and that she took these photos for us. After our surfing lessons, we got out of our wetsuits and headed out to eat some mediocre cheeseburgers. And well, I guess it's true that everything really is bigger in Texas. We managed to catch an Uber ride back to the Airbnb where we stayed in a little house that was in the backyard of someone else's house. It seems many of the houses in the area had these backyard houses, which I thought was pretty cool. I said hello to the chickens and went inside to eat dinner and watch some action packed movies full of explosions. I saw three canvases on the wall in the living room of a baby turtle swimming out to the ocean and joked with John about stealing the photo. Not the actual canvases, just the idea of the photo. By day two, we were convinced that using Uber and Lyft was not going to be a cost effective method for getting around unless we wanted to stay near the Airbnb. After researching some different car borrowing apps like Turo, which we'd never heard of before, we realized that it was going to be much cheaper and convenient to just rent a car. But what we didn't expect after confirming the rental was the line at the rental car building that took 3 hours to get through. But once we did, it was fun to finally pick out our car and head out. After finally snagging our rental car, we decided to try and find the best spot to get our picture with the Hollywood sign. We had no idea it was right in the middle of a residential area. We tried taking pictures from the Griffith Observatory, but you could hardly see the sign in our professional selfies. But after speaking to a park ranger, we decided to head to Lake Hollywood Park to get a better photo. While I wanted to go to a location on the map called the Last House on Mulholland, this was largely a residential area, and the road up to this location was blocked off. Either way, we still got some pretty cool photos at Lake Hollywood Park. And now that I look at the map, I see there is an Innsdale trailhead that we probably could have hiked to and found some better picture spots. So, here you can see approximately how far we were from the sign at the Griffith Observatory versus where we took the pictures at Lake Hollywood Park, and where we might have been able to take a picture from the last house on Mulholland. Perhaps we will do more investigating next time. After getting our picture with the Hollywood sign, we decided to head back to the Airbnb to get changed into some running shoes, or renting sandals for me, since that was the only thing I thought to bring. And then we ran to the beach and back for a total of about a 5 mile run. It was a beautiful sunset and the end of a pretty great day. On the morning of day 3, we decided to head back out to Hollywood to see the stars on the sidewalk. I wanted to get one of Lucille Ball from I Love Lucy, since the wife was a big fan of the show. On our way there, we saw a hand-drawn sign under a poster that said, "If Dr. Fauci was a workspace." And then there was a sign below it that either said mind control machine or pre-mind control machine. I wasn't sure what the exact letters were in the top left corner. Once we reached downtown Hollywood, we found a cheap place to park that cost $10 from the time we got there, which was around uh, 10 to 12 a.m., to 6 p.m. So we thought that was a pretty good deal. We grabbed some scooters for $1, and it was like 15 cents a minute, and then we took off. The scooters stopped working on Broadway because it was a restricted zone, so we ditched them and walked for a while. I found Lucy and Desi Arnaz. We also saw Reese Witherspoon, Audrey Hepburn, and Don Francisco. I thought it was Don Francisco the singer, but it had a TV icon, so I'm assuming it was for someone else. We also saw Tom Hanks, Sonny and Cher, Johnny Depp, and Stan Lee. We also found some for Woody Woodpecker and Mickey Mouse, but my favorite one, I told John I had to get a picture with the star for Amy Adams, since the wife is always teasing me about having a crush on her. That one was so funny that I immediately texted it to her just for laughs. I later came across this sign on the side of a building that said, "Someday I want to put your arms around me." And it made me think of my wife back home. I can't wait to come back with her someday. Speaking of my beautiful wife, she would have loved to have gone to the Hollywood playing of Hamilton that was coming there in July. Anyway, at the advice of my wife, we decided to hunt down the Chinese theater that was still closed due to COVID but was reopening the next day, and they had cameras set up to run some footage for a news broadcast for the next morning. Talk about bad timing. Anyway, I took a panorama picture just to show how huge the place was, and some pictures of footprints and handprints of various actors and actresses. Afterwards, we headed back to the beach to try surfing again, but they only had shorter surfboards this time, so we really just sipped salt water for 2 hours before we gave up and hit the road to head for my brother in law's house. Honestly, it was too late in the day at that point to visit family 3 hours away, so after my brother in law called, he agreed that it would probably be wouldn't be very smart to drive 3 hours each way just to visit for a few minutes. That's when I realized we had the entire afternoon to kill and immediately mapped us to downtown Disney. We parked in Simba 5C, and after visiting multiple Starbucks locations looking for a Disney mug, we made our way to the World of Disney store where I picked out a pretty coffee mug for the wife. At the checkout, I saw this awesome wall of art behind the counter, and then we headed out, but not before stopping for selfies at Cruella's auto display. We also stopped at a Star Wars store to play with R2D2 and some lightsabers. John found his next Halloween costume and a cheap little helmet. Since that helmet wouldn't quite fit John's head, we decided to find a hat that might be a better fit. For our last day, we decided to drive down to the beach and take a 45-minute walk in the sand. We took some pictures from a pier that honestly didn't look very safe to walk on, but we got some good pictures of us on the coast before heading back to the car. On the way back, we came across some tiny crabs that could really move and caught a few pictures of them before they ran into the ocean. Then we headed over to a brick and mortar Amazon Fresh store, which was really just your average grocery store, but John picked up some sushi for lunch and I went with a spicy wrap from the deli. It was good food and it was fun to look around, but nothing much to write home about. From there, we drove to a park and took some photos overlooking the city from a little higher elevation. And I got a selfie with the city of LA. I told John that we had time to kill and could roll down this steep hill, but he thought it might be better just to return the rental car and head to the airport.